In previous video, we created mortgage payment calculator, the first part of this form. So now we can move on to the next part of the project, which is the analysis of the worksheet data. Since we have already defined cell names and referenced them using formulas, by changing a value in a cell such as price, Excel will immediately recalculate and display new results for the other cells. For the financial forms, oftentimes we need to be able to compare different values, or simply we need to find answer to some what if questions. For example, a mortgage applicant needs to know what will be his monthly payment if the interest rate of the loan changes. So we are going to do the next part of the mortgage worksheet by developing a data table to monitor various interest rates and the other variables. So for this part we are going to focus on this table, varying interest rate schedule, because we want to monitor different variables like interest rates, total cost, total interest by changing the rate of the mortgage. Let's go to our Microsoft Excel form. So the title of our table should be varying interest rate schedule. I'm going to select these cells and merge them to define heading for this table. Varying interest rate schedule. Interest rate schedule. So I can go to the cell style and then change it to like heading 2. Let me capitalize this R. So we need to define these variables: rate, monthly payment, total interest, rate, monthly payment. The next variable is the total interest and total cost. Total interest and total cost. Let me make this column bigger so we can fit all the values. So we can start with for example, rate of 3%. So first I'm going to select this column to be able to change its format. I'm going to use percentage with 3 decimal places. So first with 3% rate and the next 3.125. We want to change this rate to be able to monitor other variables. So the rate is going to be our input variable and the others are going to be our output variables. By changing the rate, we are going to see the values, the corresponding values of the monthly payment, total interest and total cost. So let me select these two parts, left align it, and then I'm going to select it and drag it down, and it is going to fill the values automatically. So this rate ranges between 3% and 4.5. For the monthly rate, we can use the formula that we have already defined here in the mortgage payment calculator. So we can just copy this formula, put it in this cell, or we can use the name of that cell to refer to the values of that. So for this one we can use F6. Equals F6. And the same for the total interest, we have already defined it. It's going to be equal to F7, and total cost is going to be F8 equals F8. So in order to see the corresponding values of each of these rates, I'm going to select this part of the table and make it as our data table. So we can first highlight these cells and go to data, and then from forecast tab we can select what if analysis and then data table. And the column input cell is going to be the rate of our interest. So now we have created the varying interest rate schedule, and we can monitor the different values of these variables. Next step is to create amortization schedule. An amortization schedule shows the beginning and ending balance of a loan and the amount of payment that applies to the principal and interest rate for each year over the life of the loan. For example, if a customer wants to pay off the loan after 6 years, the amortization schedule section will tell him the what will be the payoff value. The ending balance is equal to the present value of the payment paid over the remaining life of a loan. So now let's go to the next part. We are going to design amortization schedule. We have these variables: year, beginning balance, ending balance. Year, next variable is beginning balance, ending balance, and paid on principal and interest paid. Principal and interest paid. So the course of our loan is 15 years from this table, but so year 1, year 2, and I'm going to use autofill feature of the Excel to fill this number for 15 years. 15. Let me change the style of this part. I'm going to highlight this one, go to home, and then cell style. I'm going to use heading 2 for the amortization schedule. So I'm going to highlight this column, year, and then left align it. So now from the textbook we can find the formulas that we need for these variables: beginning balance, ending balance, paid on principal, and interest rate. On the exam I will provide you the required formulas for this kind of tables. So for the beginning balance, it equals D8, which is the loan amount. Ending balance, it equals if H5 or less is less than or equal to the value of F5, then present value or PV function of F4 divided by 12 and 12 multiplied by F5 minus H5. If this condition holds true, then calculate the PV. Otherwise, this formula must return 0. Otherwise, it has to return 0. So a little complicated formula, but I will provide all the formulas that you need for your assignments or exams. This is for the ending balance. Paid on principal is going to be I5 beginning balance minus ending balance. For the interest rate, again we need to enter another formula. We can use if function. If I5 is bigger than 0, then 12 multiplied by F6 minus K5, otherwise 0. So now we can select these variables and then drag them down to fill the other cells. Okay, let me, for the beginning balance, the ending balance of the second year, the beginning balance of the second year is going to be the ending balance of the first year, so it is going to be equal to J5. So for these variables, I'm going to drag it down up to year 15, and the same for this variable. So you will see from this table that the ending balance of the 15th year or the last year of the mortgage is going to be 0. That's how we can calculate this formula. So in this project, in the previous video, we learned how to define different variables like date, item, price, down payment, and etc. for mortgage, and then connect these variables using formulas and by defining name for each of the cells. In this video, we have learned how to define, how to monitor different variables by changing values of an independent variable. For example, here in this table, we changed the rate of the mortgage and then monitored other variables over the course of the year. So if an applicant has questions regarding a mortgage, we can refer him to this kind of table. And for the last part of the project, we develop amortization schedule to see the beginning and ending balance of um, the mortgage throughout the course of the mortgage. As always, if you have any questions, if something is not clear to you, please feel free to email me or join my virtual meeting room. Thank you.